being prompted to make this video. I've been encountering a few people over several days now trying to hex me out. You guys have no idea who I am. Low-level hexers, as low as you can get. These are the bottom ones on the curb, on the street, boom, bottom ones. These are not fraternities, not sororities. They're not Lions International, and they're definitely not Freemasons. Just to let you know, I've been to the Freemasons Grand Lodge of BC and Yukon, hand delivering on their desk letters from the Holy Spirit. Get out of here! Hey, I'm there for the Holy Spirit. We're going to be wherever we want to be. We're here with the landowner. I was over at the lodge, Freemasons Lodge on Fisgard Street in Victoria. I've sent letters to the Grand Lodge of Canada in Hamilton. So yeah, we confront the high-ups, because the Freemasons are the main factions for Satan. The two chevrons on their right hand, their ring, that's the mark of the beast on the right hand, and the pagan cross on the forehead, the Catholics, which is called the Mithraism, with Mithra is just another name for Lucifer. That's the other mark of the beast on the forehead. Two chevrons on the forehead, two chevrons on the right hand. Now in 2003, talking about Lucifer, I was telling this person I was living with, I was full of anxiety, full of paranoia. Everybody's seen I got kicked in the head. Corrections Canada has it written down. My doctor had it written down that I had paranoia and anxiety, severe. People used to say I was slow in the head, made no sense, and kept repeating myself. And you guys know who you are in Timmins, Ontario, where my carcass was born. But anyways, I was telling this person, it's been a long time since I felt the sun on my back. I said, I don't understand. I said, because I can go outside and feel the heat from the sun, and I can get suntanned, but it's been a long time since I felt the sun on my back. Repeated this several times as I'm pacing back and forth. Shoes are on, totally sweated right out. I sat down on the couch, was blinking, blinked one time too long, and I saw a being of light showing me the chevron, the symbol of division, Lucifer. And I'm like, what's going on? So then I went to the church where I was baptized. When I was baptized on a Friday. I was supposed to get baptized on a Sunday, which was Our Lady of the Rosary Day in October 73. But the priest had called on a Friday, said, can you bring him in this afternoon at 2? Because one of the teachers had called and says, all the kids are going there for Our Lady of the Rosary's feast day, which is Yeshua's Mother's Day, supposedly. But it doesn't matter. We were just using all those children as witness. So yeah, we went in there, and if anybody was alerted, it wouldn't have happened. They would have put a stop to it. But now they walk into church with me as a baby, and there's a whole church full of children to witness this. And I remember mentioning this to the priest when I went up to see him after the visits from Lucifer. And he says he remembered, he says he was not supposed to do that. Because after that, I was near death with fevers of 104, 105 till I was 2. They tried taking me out till I was 2, just like they did with Yeshua. But anyways, time passes on, a year or whatever, year and a half goes by. 2005, I was looking outside the window at night, and I said, I need help from anyone that's transcended this world. And I repeated that several times, very intent on getting something done like this, meditating about it, looking out the window. I got visited that night by a jackal-headed beast or animal, tall, I don't know, 20, 30 feet tall. Had those Nazi captain's hat, like the Nazis wore, military trench coats, boots, black gloves. He had a 3 or 4 foot demon, no legs on this demon, same kind of little outfit wearing, little puffy things coming out of the side. Went up, spoke to that, whatever it was, jackal-headed thing, God or an angel, a hell's angel or something. And it came back down, tried to put 2 chevrons on the top of my arm, top left chevrons. That's why I know these kinds of words. I got out of that realm. This realm was like the Badlands. Not hell, no fire, nothing. Badlands. That's all I can describe it as. I took off those chevrons, said, I don't want that. Later on, I looked into it. The jackal-headed is in Egypt. He's something about taking care of the dead. And in other folklores or whatever, mythology, which is true, he's transcended death. He transcended this world. That's why that being came to see me, because I asked help from someone that transcended this world. Now time passes on. Fast forward 2017, September, October, still totally lost in my head. Everybody can see it. Now, through the wordless language, that undivided, unborn source, the Holy Spirit, asked me if I wanted to go on a spiritual journey to find my authentic self. And I'm thinking after, like, what is this? You know, like, I'm lost and what's going on? Because you don't hear nothing, but it's just a knowing. Now I'm watching my YouTube feed. All of a sudden, obviously it's geared up for this awakening. I'm mentioning all this because if anybody else experiences it, you get a hold of me and I can help you out probably, or the Holy Spirit through me. But anyways, I researched it for a month on my YouTube feed. Dark Night of the Soul was coming on. People's talking about it. And I'm like, what is this Dark Night of the Soul? It's a poem by St. John of the Cross. I got some books that he wrote, studied that. Other people on my Facebook feed or my YouTube feed were talking about spiritual awakening. I actually put 2 videos of one woman, Angel Star Creations, and how she got, I thought, oh, she looks beautiful. And it's like, yeah, man, I want to go through that kind of spiritual awakening, you know. But later on, I found out she got herself screwed over, as you can see in those videos. But yeah, people were saying it takes about a month to 3 months to get the spiritual awakening. And I remember texting people and I said, maybe it's going to take me 6 weeks. And I have no idea how this is going to happen. But I agreed to it after a month. I was brought out for a walk. I saw 2 signs. The first sign says, now is the time. And then the other sign said, now. Just emphasizing that we're living in eternity. The past, present, and future is nothing but a stubbornly persistent illusion, like that genius, smart guy Albert Einstein had stated, and other quantum physicists and stuff. But too bad wisdom wasn't a given. Look at that famous picture of Einstein sticking his tongue out like Satan the serpent. He was totally possessed. That's why he knew all that kind of stuff about this world. But anyways, I agreed to this. Don't have no idea what's going to happen. Now on my YouTube feed, I was watching sailboat life and stuff, and I used to romanticize about this, living on a sailboat in the Mediterranean or in the Caribbean, living off the sea. But because I guess I was watching that, plus it was part of my awakening, van life started coming on. People living in their vans in BC and stuff, and I'm like, hey, I got a van, maybe I can do that for my spiritual awakening. So my lease was coming up at the end of January 2018. So I got a hold of my boss in Victoria, got my old job back. I used to take care of 3 satellite libraries when I was there. They got like a dozen, but now I was going to take care of the main library downtown. Sure. So I go out there, but now it's February and March. 5 degrees outside, raining, totally humid outside. It feels like it's -10. I'm cold to the bone all the time. Shyla, my 4-legged friend, she's wondering what's going on. We got no apartment or nothing, but I'm thinking it's just going to be 6 weeks. Don't worry. 6 weeks comes up, and I remember screaming, saying all kinds of stuff to the Holy Spirit to make it stop. A monkey can do what I'm doing. All I'm doing is cleaning a library, you know, like what's going on. But at the beginning of this, and I remember saying this, that if I'm kicking and screaming for it to stop, to just grab me by the ankles and you drag me through the spiritual awakening, we're going to get this done. And I remember saying, forget what I said, but it wasn't stopping. I ended up quitting my job over there because I got herniated disc. I was giving the keys to my supervisor, and he says, why don't you go get an operation? I said, I already seen doctors, and one in Victoria also, and they said, you can get an operation, but it's only going to get worse. Okay, so I quit the job. Springtime, summers are just around the corner, starting to warm up. It's not too bad living in a van. Went out to the mainland, started traveling, just getting flashes in my head. Go to Surrey, go to Radium Hot Springs. So we're doing all these tourist things, me and my 4-legged friend Shyla, outdoor stuff, swinging bridges of Manitoba and Saskatchewan. It was a joy, man. But anyways, made our way to Timmins, September, October 2018. This person in that town called me up, left me a message, and called me an effer at the end of the message. He works for the Timmins police. I ended up going to the Timmins police to just go complain about this person. Don't know why I said this, but it was part of my awakening. Went to the reception and I said, I want to speak to a sergeant. I don't know why I was saying that. I want to speak to a sergeant. Now, I'm going to mention your name because you put it on yourself, this. You should have made your homework and you should have asked me more questions about it. But who comes out? Guy Bouffard. I went to school with him. He goes, hey, Pete. This is like an occult hexing. I didn't know it at the time. So he brings me in a little room on the side. And I want to complain about this person. But I started smiling and laughing. And I said, I know how this world runs. But I had no idea. But this, the Holy Spirit speaking through me. I know how this world runs. And I'm pointing to his chevrons. Just like that jackal-headed. But I had forgotten about the jackal-headed thing. And then he goes, oh, he looks so happy. Because they seen I was struggling my whole life. Everybody knew I was getting kicked in the head and everything. Freemasons were doing it. This guy here, Timmins Police, they're all Freemasons. But anyways, he seemed so happy. And he goes, Pete, do you want me to get somebody to go talk to you about the other side? And I'm like, I had no idea. The other side? I said, no. I said, I'm with the Holy Spirit. And I did a hand sign. I'm doing it right now too. And he goes, because he knew at that point, you're not supposed to talk about that outside of doors or nothing. Like, that's punishable by death. This is Freemason stuff, man. Like, he was offering a Freemason to come and talk to me about the other side, to join these forces. There's actually a guy, his family got annihilated in Timmins because of something like this, you know, refusal or something. But I'm not going to get into it about that family. But anyways, I ended up leaving Timmins. Went back to BC because it started getting cold and stuff in Ontario. Went to Chilliwack, got a cleaning job there. Some of my cleaning gigs were in Chilliwack and some were in Abbotsford, like 30 minutes, 40 minutes away. So I was staying lots of times at the Walmart in Abbotsford, the one on the east side. There's two of them over there, one on the west, one on the east. It's the standalone in the parking lot. I wake up one morning, there's a guy 50 feet, 100 feet away from me. He's trying to boost his van with a car battery beside his van. I'm thinking, you can't boost like that. You need a running vehicle to give you the volts. Went over, offered a boost. He said, yeah, but I was meant to encounter this being. You know how they say, entertaining angels unaware. But those angels that they talk about are the angels of good and evil, light and darkness of this world. And this here was something from the pleroma, from the Holy Spirit. So he said, yeah, gave him a boost. And then he asks me, he goes, can I buy you breakfast? And when he said that, I knew he was going to bring me to a homeless soup kitchen. I said, yeah, for sure. Let's go. You want to reciprocate? Yeah, let's go there. So I followed him. When we got there, that day of the week, they offered the breakfast 2 hours earlier. But it was all meant to happen like this. So I ended up saying, hey, did you want to go up to Save On Foods? That's a grocery store out here. They serve hot meals. They have little tables and stuff. You can eat there. So I bought him a meal, sat down, we're eating. He's telling me all kinds of spiritual stuff. I'm not going to share all of that. But all of a sudden, as we're eating, he just says, hey, they can't do nothing to you and they can't touch you because you didn't pick a side. But not like, hey, like that. Like, he was so soft-spoken. And then I said, what? He goes, they can't do nothing to you and they can't touch you because you haven't picked a side. I didn't know back then what he meant, but I didn't pick the good or the evil. I didn't pick the light, the Lucifer, and I didn't pick the jackal-headed darkness or whatever. But anyways, that just sat on me. Ended up leaving Chilliwack because I was telling people there about the sergeant in police uniform offering me an in to have somebody come and talk to me about the other side. I think somebody slipped me something because all of a sudden I'm totally paranoid. People are coming around my vehicle at night, walking, all kinds of horrors. I ended up leaving there, went to Tsawwassen, BC, at the Walmart there. I'm getting followed by people. I'm taking pictures, videos. I'm phoning the Prime Minister's office. You don't get a live person, but I'm leaving messages with the license plates, with the VIN numbers, all kinds of stuff, and how do people look like and what's happening. Phoning the RCMP in Ottawa, doing the same thing on their voicemail. Ended up going on the Tsawwassen Ferry, went to Schwartz Bay, just outside of Victoria, stayed around there for 2-3 weeks or whatever it was. Ended up leaving there, came back to Ontario, totally paranoid. Ended up in Toronto, Southern Ontario, again at the Walmarts, either Etobicoke or Mississauga. Now, when I was there, I was given a light in 2019, that summer, from the Holy Spirit. I'm not going to get into it, but basically telling me I'm untouchable because I got this light, protects me. And I don't put it to the test, but I've put it to the test before. So now it was winter time, 2019, 2020 in Toronto. It's really cold. I was going to the food bank one morning, and it's like 5-6 blocks away from the food bank, but it's just one long road. It's like industrial, where you just go into the driveways, into the businesses. But anyways, at the end of this road, as I'm turning around, there's a lady on the ground, on the road, on the pavement, and her little wheelie cart's like a couple feet away behind her. And so I pulled over the van, I got out, and I said, hey, I got herniated disc. I said, I cannot help you up. I said, but here's your little wheelie thing. I said, prop yourself up. She got herself up, put her in the van, brought her to her place. She lived right on Lakeshore Boulevard in Hillside, across the street from where I used to live before I started this spiritual awakening. We're in her parking lot, talking about spiritual stuff. Another person, angel unaware kind of thing. I was telling her, this is not the peace sign, this is the peace sign when two makes peace in one house, and all kinds of stuff. She goes, watch what you're doing with your fingers. You're throwing energy and power out of your fingers. That's why when Guy Bouffard did that witchcrafting stuff, I'll show you another video about how the cops were doing that to me, the RCMP, 3 of them. I told her that there was a few other things that I told her. I was sitting there at one point, and all of a sudden she sees I tensed up, and I try to turn a bit, and then there's a person coming. She goes, oh, you're an empath, you're telepathic, and you have intuition. But she was just telling me, hey, this is what you have, like, go with it. I can actually look at conversations I had with people decades ago, and I can read them today. But anyways, there was a few other things she was telling me. She told me who she's with. I'm not going to tell you who she's with, but I told her I'm with the Holy Spirit. And she started saying, you can't be with the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit's in everything. And we're in the parking lot. He's in that car. He's in that tree. You can't. But she was just emphasizing the magnitude of what's bringing me through this awakening. Like, we're with the ultimate. We're here to shut this world down. This garden has gone rancid. Everybody seems to be selling out and stuff. But anyways, I left it like that. She brought her stuff inside her apartment and stuff with her. Here you go. Ended up leaving there. Ended up coming back to Vancouver. I did not want to come here. I was paranoid of coming here. It took me about a month and a half. I was stopping in Wawa, stayed there for a couple of weeks. I was in Manitoba. I was in Alberta, all kinds of places. I didn't want to come here, but finally I did come to Vancouver. I got hexed out by Vancouver police here. I went and seen witchcrafting dentists and stuff. I went through all kinds of stuff. Summer 2021, I was over at the CMHA wanting to change my license to BC from Ontario, from insurances and stuff. And I ended up going there to the CMHA. I had no choice. I needed a change of address, and they were letting me use their address. The 3rd or 4th visit I went there, they were going to offer me food, but I was kicked in the head. I didn't trust their food, and I was about to say no. And through the wordless language, the Holy Spirit told me, you're going to have to experience what's inside that food. So I went in. She brought, this is Miriam, her name, Mary, but Miriam. She brings me in the back of the witch's closet or whatever, pantry. And everything she was pointing at, I said, yes. Do you want I remember the first thing, you want some blueberries? Yes. Did you want some of this grated cheese? They had some grated cheese already in the bag. Yes. Did you want this romaine lettuce? Yes. Took everything. I put it all in one big pot. She gave me like several meals worth. Put it all in one pot, ate it all in one shot. Worst darkness of my life. Staying in the van 22, 23 hours a day, screaming outside. I've noticed other people doing that, and I had to experience that darkness. January 2022 was when the Holy Spirit told me, you're no longer subject to their shenanigans. Lifted up those veils of darkness that I've had on me since I was a child, a baby. And it's like, wow, it's like breath of fresh air kind of thing. I wasn't fully awoken. Come summertime 2022, oh yeah, Rhea had joy, me and Shyla. But anyways, I was getting hexed out after that by Vancouver police, obviously the RCMP and stuff. Went through all kinds of stuff. They're black magic. I'm still going through a whole bunch of stuff with these people, but if anybody has ever experienced anything like this, you want to talk about it, feel free to call me, message me. Come out here if you're too scared to talk about it on there, because I am being monitored all the time, and they're being monitored from within people. Just like Barack Obama said when he was on Jimmy Kimmel talking about aliens, but those aliens from the world we can't see, it's those gods and demons. He says, you know, Jimmy, they got strict control over us, like from within. So when you sell out, you open up a door from within when you join those secret societies, mankind clubs, that's what I call them. But anyways, I'm on the West Coast, North Shore area. I'm outside 5, 6, 7 hours a day. Like I say, I walk 500-600 kilometers a month. So if I see you, it'd be great, because I haven't met anybody like me out here. So come on out.